Welcome back. We're doing more Tom Petty. Okay. Learning to fly. Super basic, easy to get your head around. I know a million people have done it. That's all right. I don't mind. What I think is useful about this is steady rhythm and chord changes on every other, you have to change on the up every other chord, which is challenging in the beginning. So it's coming down to your ability to feel the pulse, move your hand with the pulse. So the pulse is here, right? And it's going to be down, up, down, up. So let's get into this. So you can get the documentation below. And you need to know 4 chords to be able to do this. So your first one is F, and I do the small F. So this is a 4-string chord. It's the high 4 strings, and strategically muting the bottom 2 strings. So let's talk about that. With all these chords, I want you to have this kind of a closed hand shape. No down here, no space behind the neck that way, no space in between the thumb and the base of the index. Very closed, and your fingers kind of slant to reach their respective frets, okay? So to mute the bottom 2 strings, your thumb mutes the bottom E. You don't need to come all the way over and Joe Walsh it and try to grab that note. You're just gonna sit on there lightly and mute it. You're also gonna mute the A string. And you mute the A string, this is trickier, but with the way your ring finger frets the 4th string. You see how I'm right up underneath that string, right under the bottom of that string? I'm not pressing it into the fret, I'm just right underneath it like a trolley on the track. I'm just kind of coming right up underneath the string that way. Takes a little work, but that's how you're doing it. So your ring finger feels 2 things. It feels the bass note, it also feels the string that it's muting. So you're suspending that string. And that way it can't ring. It can't ring because it's not being pushed into the fret, it's being muted from underneath. Now your first finger squeezes over kind of hard to get the top 2 strings. So that's where this grip also is to your advantage. I'm squeezing right into this little ball of my hand. I'm just kind of pinching that. This is against the back of the guitar and I'm kind of pinching it in that way. Takes a little bit of work. This is the hardest chord out of all of them. Okay, so kind of knocking the biggest guy at the schoolyard out first. So there's your F. Then you roll to a C. So really, F to C is just kind of coming off. These 2 just hop, and you roll off. So there's a little rotation here. And then you land on C to mute the bottom string. Same ring finger trick. Okay, so to get good rhythm feel with this, you have to strum through the majority, if not all, of the strings all the time. You need to feel, you need to be able to keep your wrist in motion, okay? So that's your chords, F to C, A minor. A minor, we have a situation where we're only supposed to hear 5 notes. We don't want to hear this low E, so the thumb does the same thing. It sits there comfortably as a byproduct of the closed grip, blocks that bottom E, okay? And then G, probably second hardest chord. I really recommend this finger set. Don't do this. If you learned it on Ultimate Guitar, I don't blame you. It's not going to work though. So instead of these 3, this is like sort of the dominant finger set. Use these 3. So no index finger. Pinky's on the top, rings on the bottom. Okay? The reason for that, it's symmetrical with all the other chords in the riff. F, C, A minor, it's all easy to get to from this G. Okay, so that's going to take a little work to get that pinky there. But same idea, closed grip. You can have a little space here if you want, that's not a problem. So the challenge now is, well, how do you strum and make the changes? Okay, right? First challenge is going to be right there on the up. Up, down, up, down, up. So let's talk about it. So here's what I would recommend doing is get used to where the pulse is. The pulse is here. Okay, in this case we have an eighth note subdivision. Okay, down, up, down, up, down, up. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, your hand and your foot are connected on a string basically. So you're just always moving along this way. Sometimes you strum on downs and sometimes you strum on ups. Sometimes you don't strum on downs, like on beat 3 on this situation. So you're gonna go down, up, down, up. And I would recommend, you can approach this a couple ways, but I'd recommend doing just that. Just down, up, down, just freeze, build your C, keep your hand down here. It's really weighting. It's obviously not feeling like a rhythm, but that's okay. And then up, down, move your your fingers to C, up, right? Down, up, down, almost pause, up, and just get used to that, okay? That's kind of out of, it's out of context, but that's a lot of times how you got to train stuff. So I would be training that, and then I would also be, in parallel to this, I would be training just the rhythm itself, so you can get used to that. And the way I would do this is two ways, actually, either on a chord, well, on a chord and off of a chord. So on a chord, I would do, for instance, maybe C is a good chord, just the rhythm. So just like bar 1, just, that's all it is. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. You're avoiding the down of beat 3, which is really kind of weird to some people, because you always want to be strumming down on all the beats and sort of touching bass with, yes, here's a beat, feels good, I know, I took a step, I felt the ground. Sometimes you just gotta, you know, get used to that actually not playing on a beat is better than playing on a beat. It's what makes music interesting. Okay, we call this syncopation. You're playing off of a beat. You're not emphasizing where the beat is. Okay, so you're going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. You have 2 ups in a row, right? So you can do it with a chord. You can also, if it's too jangly or your neighbors, you know, you're self-conscious or whatever, I totally understand. Just do this. Just cover up the strings with the weight of your fingers and scratch it. We call this a scratch. And just down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Try to move your hand and your foot together, because you'll feel your foot hit beat 3 and your hand air guitared it, and you'll be like, oh, I didn't feel the strings, but I felt my foot. Oh, the beat is still there, even though I'm choosing not to strum down on it. So that's just fundamental musicianship right there. So now what I would do is I would be training the treble spots. So the treble spots I see are F to C, because it's on an up. That's kind of hard to do. You know, you got to really have that motor control down to where you can get to it on the up and understand that you're moving on the up. Telling your brain to do a thing on a weaker placement of the beat where it doesn't want to do it. And then doing the same exact thing going from A minor to G. G is arguably a harder chord to get to. So I would be training these separate as little pockets. So here's a pocket. And you could just stop even without the rest of the rhythm if you want, if the landing to C is the issue. And then maybe just cycle that single bar. Are you muting all the strings you gotta mute? How quiet could you go and not have it feel dead? How loud could you go? I'm not going to do that, but my point is be present in your playing. The second it becomes a drill and you're on autopilot, you're missing a lot of the effort that, you know, the benefit of the effort of where you could take things as you're practicing. So always try to be present when you play. Okay, and then I would train A minor to G. That's your sort of second pocket. Your focus is the down on A minor and the up on G and the steadiness of the hand. And again, if it's too much, just do that, right? Just learn to follow your sight reading rhythm, basically, is that on these eighth notes, you strum down on the first, up on the second, down on the third, up on the fourth, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then you put it all together and you got it. Cool. Hope this is helpful. I promise I won't have an iPhone to do these forever.